So, welcome back, everybody, to Preparing the Unprepared. This is a podcast that aims to help people in data make smarter career and hiring decisions. Today, I'm going to be joined by the impressive Imed Zitouni, who's currently the Director of Engineering at Google. Imed has an extremely impressive career that started in France with a Ph.D. in computer science that's now led him to work for some of the world's most prestigious companies. He's been both in the trenches as an individual contributor and has led some major R&D efforts in NLU and knowledge engineering globally. With that in mind, I thought naturally this episode should be focused on leading elite NLP teams. And here's some of the topics that we're actually going to discuss. So first and foremost, we're going to dive deep into Imed's journey in tech. Secondly, we're going to talk about the evolution of NLP, the human and computational understanding. Thirdly, what it's like to drive and lead innovation at some of the world's leading tech companies. Then we're going to talk about what the future looks like for NLP or natural language, and then advice on the best practices for companies who are looking to explore NLP as tools for business. So welcome to the show, Imed.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. So very keen, obviously, to kind of jump straight in and understand a little bit more about your journey, because first and foremost, we've been connected for probably a couple of years now. And a lot's changed since then.
Absolutely, things changes. I'll start maybe from the beginning. Thank you for the invite. So I will share how I got into NLP and then my journey in tech. Actually, it goes back to when I was a kid, kind of. You know, I did grow up in Tunisia, North Africa. And in school, my favorite subject was around math and solving problems. Okay. And outside of school, I am similar to other kids. I am passionate about soccer, watching games, and at the same time playing games as well. And why I'm mentioning this, actually, when you grow up in Tunisia and you would like to see and watch nice games and nice shows about soccer, it is natural to watch the Italian TV channels. Mm-hmm. And why I mentioned this, because I don't know Italian. I never learned Italian in books or in school. But I found out that watching TVs and watching games over time, I start to understand Italian, and at least I have a comprehension of that language. And that triggered into me something, which is how someone who didn't read a book about Italian, didn't learn the language, didn't learn the grammar, is able to understand the language just from data, from repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. And I would say that create my interest in this area, the interest in learning language, understanding language, without necessarily getting into learning it from books, learning its grammar. And now these things become as obvious when we talk about natural language understanding and we talk about NLP, in a sense that, yes, we train a model, you have plenty of data, we could do speech recognition, but I am talking a couple of decades ago, and where we are really in the early stage. I do remember going to France for my graduate study and working on language model for speech recognition. At the time, dealing with the vocabulary of 20,000 words as supposed to be a very large vocabulary. It's supposed to be top-notch sci-fi kind of things that we are doing. I know people laugh about that today, but we did really make great progress. I am really proud about the progress that the community made in general in this area of natural language understanding, speech recognition, machine translation. Now we talk about assistant. So that's how I get to interact with this field. That's how I became really passionate about this field. And of course, after graduation and doing small experience in the startup in France, at that time, there is an offer that comes from Bell Labs. And in the late 90s and early 2000s, when you get an offer from Bell Labs, you don't refuse it, you just go. And that's what happens to me. I got an offer from Bell Labs. There is no way to refuse it. So I left Africa, I left Europe, and I came to the United States. And new experience, and know no one. I still remember that Sunday coming to the airport and taking a limo to go to New Jersey, to Westchester, in Maryhill, and it is a completely new world to me. It is a completely new experience to me. Everything is unknown, but the excitement of starting a new journey, the excitement of working with top-notch people that they are really expert in the area, and that started my journey in the US. And I spent from there, from working with Bell Labs, we worked on many projects. I do remember my first assignment. I'm this new grad coming to the US, working with talented people. And I talked to my manager in the first week. He was telling me, I told him, what problem do you want me to solve? And I really appreciate the kind of leadership and the kind of thoughts that he put it in his answer. It was not random. He was telling me, you are not here about a specific product. You are not here about to get something and to write a program. He said, how can you take the language and figure out the equation, the mathematical formula that could represent that language? Remember, we are in the early 2000s. There is no deep learning. I mean, there is deep learning, but it's not the way we are talking about right now. And the best we can do at that time is a trigram and bigrams and trying to do our best with this kind of language model to do speech recognition. And the innovation was, I am doing a back of anagram language model where I go from a trigram to bigram to unigram. And you have these leader coming to me and saying, no, this is not going to work. I need the mathematical formula that really represent the language. It is put it in me in a different scope. Put it in me the idea that this is a hard problem. We are working for the long run. During that journey, there is always specific products to deliver because we are part of the industry. We work for a company, so we need kind of to be productive. But in the same time, we need to create a balance between short-term and long-term. And that is how I started my journey. After Bell Labs, and I spent a good time there. We also had a hard time during the dot-com boom, and people left and right. And it was also a good opportunity that people went to many other places, from IBM to Google to many other places at the time. I landed at IBM Research. I was in IBM Watson working on NLP things. Worked on area related to machine translation, information extraction. We contributed to the early stage also of the Watson effort from information extraction perspective. We pushed a few DARPA projects around how to take machine translation to the next level, how to take information extraction to the next level, working on multilingual aspects, not only in one language. It was all pretty good. And of course, I learned a lot, and then that helped me grow. I started being in more leadership role, technical lead, leading projects, leading team, and at one point around 2012, it was an opportunity for me to try something else. Maybe I start having that mindset to focus more into user journey, how to impact user, how to be driven by user-driven metrics, and that was a good time for me to try something else. And I moved to Microsoft, working on, again, NLP and language problem ranking for Bing. It was also a great experience there. It was a nice journey around Bing, where we really took Bing from around 2012. It was all working in progress, not a profitable business. Around 2015, that business becomes profitable. Now it's making plenty of money, even though the market share is still small relative to Google. But it was a kind of a great business, very talented and good people that I worked with, and we made great progress there as well. And actually, two projects that are really close to my heart that I learned at Microsoft. One of them was really being obsessed and driven by metrics. I was leading the team around metrics, online and offline, running the science team on that area for Bing. And then we started the effort around Cortana, And again, that experience around metrics and being driven by the user metrics, it helps a lot how to drive the effort around the digital assistant Cortana, where also we did launch the Cortana speaker. And it was a good experience. And recently, actually, almost 2 years ago, again, it was a good time for me to try something else. And then I joined Google, running a few efforts around natural language understanding, focusing on how to leverage the knowledge graph, how to leverage the knowledge engine for better document understanding, query understanding, with impact on search and on assistant. So that's kind of my journey, which is so far.